Sonny Boss's brother. And you had Mickey Eyes and Mikey Francesi.
Michael Franzese was not just a soldier, but a capo in the notorious Colombo crime family. He spent the better part of a decade in federal prison on charges including tax fraud, racketeering, and parole violation.
I grew up in New York where there were 5 organized crime families. My dad, Sonny Franzese, was the underboss of the Colombo family back in the 1960s. I went to see my dad in Leavenworth in the visiting room, and I said, "Dad, I'm not going to school anymore." And he said, "Okay, son, if you're going to be on the street, then I want you on the street the right way." In his mind, the right way was to become a member of his life. He said, "Go home, somebody be in touch with you, do whatever you're told." That's how it started for me.
He was a main member of organized crime. His main forte was making money for the mob. In a very short period of time, he made over $1 billion for the Colombo organized crime family.
Yeah, by far the most lucrative business I got involved in was the wholesale gasoline business. And in a nutshell, we devised a way to collect the taxes, not pay the government the taxes. And I was there to be a business, to make money, real money.
Life magazine called him the Bob's Young Genius. They got that called him one of the biggest money earners in the history of organized crime.
Handsome and highly young man, as rich as royalty, and royalty is a prince of the mind.
With Williams, the middle class young, and taking over the young God.
Did you fix any games in college? Absolutely. He says he doesn't have 14 minutes in college. He doesn't. He has about 50 minutes. How do you know? Because I personally lived there.
I was notorious, infamous, maybe sophisticated at times, but I was a criminal. Eventually, you realize it's a life built on treachery, and that money and power are the driving forces. And I began to question the life, my commitment to the life at that time.
Making the most money for the mob since Al Capone, Michael was the youngest person listed on Fortune magazine's 50 most wealthy and powerful mob bosses. Now, as one of the only guys from that list still alive, Michael has transitioned from powerful mob boss to now speaking in front of thousands of people each week. A lot has changed these past 20 years, but it's safe to say that Michael Franzese is a man on a mission.
Okay. Let's get this show started. Are you guys ready? That don't sound like... We're bringing out Armand Wisconsin. You got ready, Kev? Get on your phone, text somebody, tell them to fill up this room. And without further ado, I introduce to the stage, Michael Franzese. Thank you.
I gotta say this, I've been speaking now for about 20 some odd years, never at an event like this. I never thought I'd be in a place like this, but great to see all of you. I want to thank, I got a lot of people here that are in my crew, and a lot in my inner circle. I want to thank you all for coming, and all those of you that watch me on YouTube, I really appreciate it. I mean that very much. And this is the first time I've been on stage 1,000. I've never been on a stage interviewing somebody else. I'm always the one that's being interviewed, but I mean, it's really an honor and a privilege to sit down with Armand. I am a tremendous fan of his. I don't mind saying that. And what I'm going to tell you now about him, I'm not saying it because I'm going to be interviewing him. I'm saying it because I've been saying this for the last 20 years. First time I ever saw him was in the movie Cuban A. You remember that movie? He played the Puerto Rican drug dealer. He was terrific. It was with Nick Nolte, Timothy Hunt. I was hooked from that moment on. And then in the movie Gotti, I will tell you this, I knew John fairly well, I knew Angelo Ruggiero good, I knew a lot of those guys. That was the best performance in a mob movie that I've ever seen by Armand. He was tremendous. And I've been telling people about the HBO guy, not the other one, the HBO guy. We know about the other one for years now. So it's really an honor to be able to sit down with him. Everybody enjoying themselves? Yeah? It's funny, I was asked to come here for a couple of years in a row. I never really wanted to do it. I live out in California now, on the West Coast, but it kind of enticed me. I've been speaking now for the last couple of months, and he's just a great guy. So you're going to enjoy it, I'm sure. As soon as he's ready, I'm ready. Here he comes. I'm on the Sunday. Here you go. Okay, so, are you? All right, again, I gotta tell you this, and again, not because we're sitting here, I've been saying this for the last 20 years. You know, I knew John fairly well. He and I actually had a couple of run-ins on the street, but socially, we had fun together. The opening scene of the Gotti movie, the HBO Gotti movie, when Armand did that dialogue, was one of the best scenes, just that few minutes, that I've ever seen in a mob movie. And you know, it put a certain dignity to the role, and Armand does that in every role that he plays. But in the Gotti movie, I've said this many times, he played John better than John played himself. It was that good. I really mean it. And it was a, you know, I say this kind of affectionately for my former life. You know, I grew up with, I believe, one of the best in that life. I learned from my father, Sonny Francis, and I had the privilege to be around a lot of guys that really brought a certain dignity to my former life. And when Armand played that role, he played it exactly like that. And he's up there with, you know, Marlon Brando and really some of the great ones. But I would say the kind of, amen. Very, very good. Well, I mean, I really do. And, you know, I wanted to ask you, you know, we're going to do something on YouTube, not now, we're going to do something later on, a really in-depth interview that we have planned. But, you know, just want to know, Armand, how did you prepare for that role? Because you played him so well. You really did.
I mean, I think the majority of my homework was done through transcripts. I read actually the recordings. He was the most recorded mob person in history. So there's a tremendous volume of recorded information. And I studied the transcripts, because the transcripts really give you an indication of his behavior, his rhythm, his cadence. And I don't know where you're from, I'm the other side, but if you go into Howard Beach, Brownsville, South City, these areas of New York, there's a certain rhythm and cadence the way people really conduct themselves. Those areas are renowned for sheer survival. So, and you know, I studied his life. He's one of 13 children, and was basically truly a street kid since he's a baby. And with no one really to turn to. He was put into another boys' home at the age of 13. When I say, I mean, a lot of street guys became very successful in the world. John, from what I learned about him, literally had no spiritual guidance, no moral guidance at all. So his life was one of true survival. And he grew up in that world. And, for real was around characters like Anastasia and with real hardcore mobsters. So, and I put on 50 pounds for the role. Really? He was 210, I went to 205, and I busted my stomach. But it was a remarkable character. Really.
Well, I gotta tell you, the whole cast of that movie, you know, I told you this when we spoke. I know Angelo Ruggiero very well. And the movie was very accurate. You know, Angelo and I had the same attorney at that time. I was going up to the office, I was fighting a case, and Angelo was up there listening to a lot of the tapes that unfortunately were at his house and in the social club. And that movie, a lot was based upon those tapes. I think they got a lot of information out there, but it was very, very accurate. Vincent Pastore played a tremendous job. I had the privilege of sitting down with him a couple of weeks ago. And Anthony Quinn, I got to tell you, on that one scene, when Anthony comes into the bar, and said a lot of things to me, but he said, if Giancarlo had told me today that you got to go, and I'd come here with those 2 zips, and you would go. When he said that, I got scared. I was sitting home, I'll be honest with you. He was terrific, but just everybody in the movie was just brilliant. Really brilliant.
It was a remarkable synergy of people, because you have to remember, I had a brilliant director, Robert Harmon, a brilliant producer, Gary Casey, who was actually the former vice president of Paramount. Steve Shagan was a legendary theater writer as well as screenwriter. I don't know if any of you saw a film called Formula with Brando and Scott, but it gives you an idea of the level of Shagan's writing. And I think Shagan did a brilliant job on that script, the structure, the way it was structured. He also borrowed a lot from the transcripts, literally from the transcripts. And then also the casting process, which was very late. Actually, I brought Anthony Quinn into it. It gave me a break, and I was allowed to run. But it was an amazing team of people. And I think in a film, the first thing you want to feel is synergy. If there's no synchronicity, no. It's like music. When you play it, you want to make the musicians the same way. We had that kind of energy, and we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. It really was a concerted effort. So I'm thrilled that it's appreciated still.
And when I was talking to Vincent a couple of weeks ago, he was telling me that the director gave you a little bit of leeway on that film. You were able to improvise a little bit in some of the script, whereas on The Sopranos, he was telling me David Chase was very rigid. You had to go word for word for the script, but you were able to improvise a little bit, and I think that brought a realism to the film that was amazing.
Yeah. It was an amazing team. I always say the first thing you look for in a film, honestly, is the team, and 85% of every movie is in the pre-production. It is not in the production. That's a myth. It's in the preparation. It's in the writing. And I have a motto in life. If it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And that's what I live by. Writing is everything in this world. Literacy and great ideas and great writing. And that's what leads us to know each other a lot better.
You can certainly see that.
Thank you. And this man is amazing. I watch him constantly. I'm one of his biggest fans. And what he's done with his life is an example that we should be in the world right now. Really extraordinary.
And you know, before I got here, Angel got here, and she messaged me, and she said, we have a special announcement, Michael, but I can't even tell you that. I'll let Armand tell you. So for those of you that weren't here yesterday, there's going to be a Gotti 2. I'm excited about that. I'm a little bit about it right now.
Well, I was approached a while ago to do the book called Shadow of My Father by John Gotti Jr. Actually 2 years ago. And this idea was kicked around with the company, working with actually the reason I'm here. I was invited by my friend Federico Castelluccio a long time ago almost 2 years ago, to be part of virtual cons. And he said, I think you're underestimating the audience for genre films that is now in the world, globally. I didn't have a clue as to what he was talking about. He said, I really want Michael Motor. I finally met Michael a little less than a year ago. He came to my home. I thought it was going to be a 30-minute meeting. It was 9 hours later. We had that much in common. And they asked me just for a while to join Virtual Cons as a member. And Virtual Cons is an app that is basically a movie app, but it's also going to gravitate to. I myself now want to do an app in the app, which is a 24/7 film channel. I will tell you, I've lived all over the world. I have been to almost every film festival in the world. Is about 90% of every award-winning film at a film festival is never seen again. It's a fact. We have no distribution or even any hope distribution, and distribution is everything. Or audiences will never see it. So there's a whole archive of phenomenally gifted films that are completely unobserved. That's the purpose of the app in the app. That's what I want with the app. But aside from that, they have this amazing work with Bob MovieCon, ConosCon. They're going to do BoxingCon. We have Latino fashion, Latino music. So the app is going to have tremendous engines to immediate accessibility with all those topics. And so it was a remarkable experience. They have consistently insisted and pushed me to consider doing the film Gotti 2. And my criteria was, I finally called my friend George Gallo and Nick Valalongo. Not believe it, they signed on immediately. My financing was done. So it's a remarkable synergy of energy, like I said, and I wish us well. I will not do this film if it is not absolutely a brilliant script. In fact, years of Gotti's life in Marion was an unbearable thing to know about. That being said, I think it's a brilliant, chilling movie.
I'm going to announce something here. It could have been a Gotti Franzese war, and I'll tell you why. Today, they're doing a television series on my life. We just got the final draft of the pilot today. And if I had my dream, Armand would be playing my father, Sonny Franzese. But I just lost out to Gotti. So what am I going to do? But no, I'm serious. I'm excited about Gotti 2. I mean, because I love the first one so much. And I know what Armand said, if that script isn't brilliant, he won't do it. So the fact that he does do it, you know it's going to be a brilliant movie. Which is great.
I'm very excited. Very excited.
All right, so we're going to do one more thing. I promised we would take 5 questions. Okay, so you could ask Armand or me 5 questions, and then we're going to wrap it up, because we got a lot more to say, but we're going to save it, because it's going to go on our YouTube channel later on. So anybody got a question for you? Right there up front. Got to be able to hear you. So the ending of the Gotti movie when we talk. Okay, was it supposed to be like that?
Yeah.
Was there a collaborative effort when it went black at the end of the movie? Was it supposed to be like that? Was there a meaning behind it?
Well, yes, in essence, I mean, what fascinates always about our group. And at the end of it, we would do a piece. It his mantra in a way 5, 10 years from now, they're going to slum down. But my point is, was how this who wanted no redemption, which is very powerful. And he lived that way to the prayer life. He had no cooperation with the government. There is a dominant theme in the film, if you watch it carefully, that anyone who gets into place for government has been wrong. I don't know whether it's Castro, whether it's Hussein, whether it's Noriega. It's just a predominant theme for America. By the way, this is the greatest country on earth. I've lived in it. Strangely enough, as flawed as it is, this is still the greatest justice system on earth. And it is flawed. There's no question about it. But I think the symbolic meaning of not going in the dark is in a way Gandhi's, if you will, acceptance of the fact that through my lack of redemption, through my will, I want no forgiveness for who I am. I am what I am. I think in a way that was his own darkness. That's what it was.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, you know, there's a lot of things that have been said about John, but he wasn't larger than life figure in our life. There's no doubt about it. And I just happened to be, and I was speaking in Springfield, Missouri, and John passed. And I was with one of the nurses that were caring for him in the past, you know, for about a year when he was dying. And she told me exactly that. He didn't want to hear from nothing. He said, look, I live this way, I'm going to die that way, and that's it. God is there, he's got a place for me, he's got a place for me. If he doesn't, he doesn't. So he lived that way throughout his life and in the end of his life. And I can certainly see it that way, knowing him the way I did. So he's an interesting guy, really was.